Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second leg, quarter-final Champions League predictions. Looking quickly at last week, I said Arsenal would beat Real Madrid 2-1. I was right in the result, but I was wrong in the score. It was actually a 3-0 win for Arsenal, and they have a massive advantage going into the Bernabeu on Wednesday. Regarding Bayern and Inter, I said it'd be 2-1 to Bayern. It was actually 2-1 to Inter. And that was also Bayern's first home defeat in 22 games in European football as well, just putting it out there. I said PSG would win 2-1 against Aston Villa. It was actually 3-1. And I said Barcelona would beat Dortmund 3-1. It was actually 4-0 to Barcelona. So in 3 of the 4 games, I got the result right. But in all of them, I got the score wrong. I probably would have got at least one score right if it weren't for Mendes scoring in the 92nd minute against Aston Villa for Paris Saint-Germain. Speaking of Aston Villa and Paris Saint-Germain, we're going to go to them first. This is Aston Villa versus PSG. In the first leg, as mentioned, PSG won 3-1. And in Aston Villa's latest game, well, Aston Villa, they ended up winning and relegated Southampton 3-0. And PSG, their last game was actually against Aston Villa in the Champions League, because for some reason, if I can find a reason, which I can't, PSG's game against Nantes was postponed. So PSG haven't actually played since playing Aston Villa. Regardless, nothing of PSG has changed really with their results. They have since beating Aston Villa. You know, they've won in the last 7 games. And Aston Villa have been, well, hopefully, this is right, have been the first to score in 5 of their last 5 games, including that game against PSG, in which obviously they took the lead first. And PSG, in 4 of the last 5 games, have been involved in a game where both teams have scored. I'll just quickly fact check that. Oh, no, it's 1. Yeah, that's right. So, ultimately, do I think Aston Villa will overturn this deficit? No, I don't think they will. I think they'll be able to hold PSG a bit more, and they could actually win this. They do have home advantage as well. But I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for Villa or a 1-1 draw, or a 2-1 win for PSG. I'm going to stick with a 1-1 draw. I think the game will end Aston Villa 1, Paris Saint-Germain 1, in which means that PSG will progress to the semi-finals 4-2 on aggregate. Moving on swiftly to Borussia Dortmund versus FC Barcelona. In the first leg, Barcelona thrashed Dortmund 4-0. And that is, of course, the current aggregate score. Looking at their latest games, Borussia Dortmund actually played in the El Clasico last week. And they actually managed to salvage a 2-2 draw against league leaders Bayern Munich. And FC Barcelona, their last game was against Leganés, in which was a 1-0 win for them. That means that after Barca's wins against Dortmund and Leganés, they haven't lost in 24 games. Yep, quite a bit. And Dortmund haven't kept out a clean sheet in the last 8. And Barca have been the first to score in their last 6, according to this, from my understanding. And in their last 4 head-to-head meetings between the two, Dortmund haven't won a game. They had a draw once, and Barca won 3. Of course, including their latest win on Wednesday as to date. I think the score, I think Barca will win this one 2-1. So I'm going to say that Barca will progress through 6-1 on aggregate. That's quite a bit. We'll move on now to Inter and Bayern Munich. Inter Milan, in this meeting, Inter Milan won against Bayern Munich 2-1 at the Allianz Arena. And now they will be going to the San Siro to play out this game. Inter's unbeaten record extends to 12 games. That was after a win at the weekend in the Serie A against Cagliari. Both of them have not kept out a clean sheet in their last 5, however. Both teams have scored in their games in the last 5. So, both teams that they played against. So, Inter's opponents would have scored in the same game as Inter did themselves, if that makes sense. In 6 of the last 7 games, Inter have been the first to score. And I think that does include last week's game against Bayern Munich as well. And in their last 10 matches against each other, Inter Milan have won 4 games. They drew 1, and Bayern won 5. So, Bayern with a 50% win rate there. Bayern's last game, it was previously mentioned, they played against fellow quarterfinalist Dortmund, in which the game ended 2-2. I think for this game, could there be a turnaround? Possibly. I think this one, of all the games, will be the pick of the bunch to watch this week. Because ultimately, Bayern only have a 1-goal deficit. And they do have experience, of course, in this competition, but then again, it's at the San Siro, and Inter also have experience in this competition. So, what will I say for this? I think, I don't know whether I actually heavily utilise home advantage here. But I think given Bayern's dip, I think morale may be a bit low. But then again, it's a Champions League, and some haven't won it before, and they really want to go for it, and all that. But yeah, it's going to be... yeah, this one's going to be a fun one to watch. Aggregate score, 2-1 to Inter. Final score... oh, tough one. I'm going to say... so close. I'm going to say Bayern wins 2-1, so it'll go to extra time. As of the extra time result, wow, if it goes to extra time, that's going to be a fun one. But Barca wins this 2-1 in regular time, but then obviously it'll be tied 3-3 on aggregate. And I think going into extra time, I think this is going to go all the way to pens. And who wins on penalties? I think it'll be Bayern Munich. So I think Bayern Munich will ultimately win this one. I've just voted on SofaScore saying Bayern Munich will win. This is accounting for regular time. And no one has actually voted an overall majority for who would win or draw. In fact, the highest is 49% for Inter. 39% voted Bayern would win. And I think Bayern Munich will win this one on penalties. The final one, Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Now, at the moment, well, in the first leg, Arsenal won this 3-0. 2 insane free kicks from Declan Rice. One that was bent around the wall, and then another which went right in the top bins, top right corner. You know, they were just fascinating to watch. Arsenal have not lost in their last 9. Arsenal have been the first to score in their last 6 games, and Real Madrid have been the first to concede in 5 of their last 7. However, Arsenal have been in a game where both teams have scored in 6 of their last 8 games. In their last 4 matches against each other, Real Madrid won 1, they drew once, and Arsenal win twice. Obviously, this actually does date back to 2006. And of course, we had that recent game, obviously, last week. Looking at Real Madrid's recent form, they actually managed to get their first win of the month against Deportivo Alaves in a 1-0 win. That was their latest game. And for Arsenal, well, they, as mentioned before, have gone unbeaten in their last 9 games. However, their latest game was a 1-1 draw against Brentford. Now, it's probably on paper fair to say that Arsenal could, with this 3-goal advantage, they could probably clinch this. And, but, obviously what we've seen from Real Madrid in recent years, it's not always like that. Real Madrid have made some incredible comebacks. Like, look at their Champions League win in 2022. In every single tie on the run-up to the final, they were behind at some point. That game against City in the quarterfinals, that tie was so frustrating. And that last-minute goal as well, which prevented us from going to Paris. But yeah, do I think Real Madrid will overturn this deficit? No. But do we rule them out? Of course not. They're Real Madrid and they're in the Champions League. I don't know what else to expect. Well, okay. I'm going to say that given it's at the Bernabeu, I think Real Madrid will probably win this one 2-1. I think there may be some, eeriness as to, could Madrid come back? Like what has been discussed here. But I think ultimately it's going to be a relatively comfortable one for Arsenal. So although I'm saying Real Madrid will win this on the night, I'm saying Arsenal will overall win it 4-2 on aggregate. And I think that's all my predictions. Yep, I haven't missed a single one, so we're all good. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And I guess I'll disappear now. Bye, everyone.